This week's episode is a family affair. And for those that know, you really know that Detroit and the Bay Area, we brothers from another mother. We're cousins. And the next gentleman that's joining me is from Vallejo. You may know him from his exploits as a future Hall of Fame baseball player, 2009 champion, a ALCS MVP, a six-time All-Star, but more importantly, a class human being and someone I respect a lot. CC Sabathia, welcome to the program.
What's going on, Jay? Appreciate you having me.
Always, always. So what drew you to the game of baseball, and what can be done to inspire more American-born players to want to play the game?
You know what? Growing up in Vallejo, it's a baseball city. Like, we grew up, that's what we played. I mean, we played everything. We played basketball, played football. We played soccer too. But this is a baseball town. Like, literally everybody played baseball. So, we grew up learning the fundamentals and, all of that stuff. And, you get a bunch of inner city black kids on the baseball field, we automatically going to be the most athletic. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it was just a lot of fun to grow up in that environment. And it just bred so much competition that, we literally just grew up baseball kids. And I think, getting back to, what could be done is, just trying to, bring equipment back to the hood. You know what I mean? And, baseball is an expensive sport. You need bats, you need gloves, you need cleats, you need, a place to play. So, with this Players Alliance that we have going on now, we're just trying to provide equipment that, as much as we can. We need to try to provide programs. If it's camps, satellite camps, a lot of these kids now are getting drafted off numbers, exit velo and spin rate and all that stuff. And these kids in the hood don't have access to these radar guns or to the TrackMan or to the Rapsodo. So, it's up to us as players to get these kids this technology and get them back in the game, because we're getting weeded out of the game by the technology.
And since we're doing this podcast and column for the New York Post, there's so many Yankee fans that would love for me to talk to you about being a crafty lefty striking out so many people. But as we connected to this Zoom, the first thing I told you, as somebody that respects you and has followed your entire career, I really applaud and appreciate a lot of the things that you've done post-baseball. In your current documentary, Under the Grapefruit Tree, it debuts on HBO December 22nd, where we learn more about your illustrious life and career. Tell the viewers about Under the Grapefruit Tree and why your life story is important for you to tell right now.
It's crazy. It's even like down to the title is just authentic. Everything about the doc is me. I mean, I grew up in the Crest. I grew up in the hood, but we had this big ass grapefruit tree in my backyard that my grandma used to get mad when I picked the grapefruits off the tree. So I had to get the dead ones off the ground. And I would take this folding chair and I would set up a folding chair and I would go back there and pick up the grapefruits off the ground and literally throw and strike people out. You know what I'm saying? Like I would be on the mound like I'm Dave Stewart, shit dripping all over my hand, but like I'm throwing these grapefruits. So that's literally how I learned how to pitch. But this doc is, it's just about everything that I've been through, all the deaths, the ups and downs, I feel like my dad always gets a bad rap in my story. Everybody always wants to write the story about the strong black, single mother that raised the athlete, but that wasn't the case in my situation. My mom is incredibly strong. She's an incredible woman. She did, incredible things for me to be sitting here today, but my dad is a huge part of my life and a huge part of my story. And I honestly think, Jalen, if he doesn't pass away, I never go to rehab. I never go down this path of out of controlness and drinking and all of that stuff, just because of the relationship that me and him had. So I wanted to be able to tell his side of the story through my eyes and make sure that he get his fair due and people understand that he is literally the reason why I ended up signing in New York and becoming a Yankee, and the reason why I, got to play in the big leagues.
Wow, I admire that so very much, especially as someone that never met his biological father. That bond, especially as Black men, it's important to discuss that, because so many times, just like everyone else, we get caught up in cliches or fast money or sports or entertainment, but we overlook the foundation like yours to help you become a really successful human being on and off the field.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I couldn't even imagine not being able to meet my biological father and getting to the point where you are. That's tough, you know, because sometimes I have to go back to think about stuff that my dad told me as a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like to have that connection, to have that bond. I mean, and even in this age, I'm always still looking. I have one uncle that I'm super close with that I can look to that is a great mentor. Him and his wife been married for 52 years, so it's just a great story. He's a great human, and he's always had my back. So he's one person that I can look to. But for the most part, everybody else that I would look to in my life that I had that special bond with has passed away. So that's something that I had to like come to terms with and deal with, especially after 2012. And you see it in the doc after my cousin passed away. I literally just went on the spiral that just sent me into rehab.
And I love this Renaissance man opportunity because it gives me a chance to decompress. And this is therapeutic for me as well. And that's why I like to have people on that I admire, but are also interesting to me. Because over the last 12 months, I lost so many stalwarts in my family. I lost my uncle, who was my mother's oldest brother. I lost my oldest brother. And then I lost my grandmother, who was the matriarch of the family
Man.
at 103 years old. So that type of trauma, especially growing up where you're from and where I'm from, we taught to be tough and suck it up and
Mm-hmm.
find a way to deal with it. Can you just talk to so many people that have dealt with sort of pain and anguish in their life and some of the things that they can possibly do or you've done to help get over it?
Man, you know what? The biggest thing that I did was I went to therapy, going to rehab and being able to talk about it and get it off my chest because, like you said, we are taught to just deal with it and suck it up and, just get by it. I mean, all those deaths that you just named right there, I had that happen two different times. I had that happen in high school where
Wow.
three of my grandmother passed away 2 months before I get drafted. My uncle passed away, a month before that. And then in 2003, my dad passed away in December. My uncle passed away the next April. And then my cousin, who I'm super close with, passed away in June. So like dealing with that trauma or not dealing with that trauma is
Mhm.
depends on how you set yourself up for the rest of your life. Obviously, me not dealing with it, I had to go to rehab to be able to get those feelings out and get those emotions out, and really take a look and sit back and mourn and grieve, and give yourself a chance to breathe, and it's okay to cry. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's okay to show emotion. It'll be a day, in the middle of the week, one day I'll wake up and I'll start thinking about my dad and I'll just cry, or I'm, sitting here watching the Raiders and think about, what I'm saying? Like, so it's so many different things that, remind you of the people that you miss, or to remind you of the people why, for us, what motivated us to become these athletes. You know what I'm saying? My grandmother was the motivator behind me wanting to be, get her out of that life. And, I wanted to buy her all these different clothes and different trips and stuff like that. And I never got a chance to do that. She passed away literally 2 months before we hit the lottery. I get drafted in the first round 2 months later. So it's just, it's tough, man, to deal with. Even still thinking about that now, it's tough to deal with.
I appreciate you being very open about that because I'm a firm believer that it's the hardships and the hard times that build character and make us who we are. So the theme behind this episode is every breakdown is a breakthrough. In
Mm-hmm.
your latest memoir just released, Till the End, you talk about baseball, but you get personal about family and your battles with addiction. What was your lowest point and when did you realize you needed to change?
Man, I think it's crazy because I had so many different, for me, low points, and everybody's low point is different.
Mhm.
I had the incident in 2012 when me and Amber get into a fight, and I drive my drop top down and hit a tree, drive through a fence, and I almost killed myself. And for me now, looking back on it, that would have been rock bottom. But in that moment, I still thought that I could drink. I still thought that I could handle it. Like I still didn't think, I was an alcoholic. I wasn't ready to face that. But my number one no point is when I decided to go to rehab, and I'm sitting in rehab, and I'm basically in like a mental health ward of the rehab facility. When you first check in, they got to detox you, and they take you. I'm sitting there with Nikes on and no shoestrings, and my tongues are flipped out, I got my sweats on there inside out, and I basically have on like a medical gown that I'm sitting here and I'm watching the Yankees play against the Astros in the AL wild card game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, it was almost like it wasn't me like sitting there. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had in my life. And as I'm sitting there watching that game is when I made the decision that I wanted to get my shit together. Is when I made the decision that I didn't want to live this life. I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be this sad story that's a headline in the Post. And every time I get in trouble or get arrested, or you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't want to go down that path. And I made that decision while I'm sitting there in this medical gown watching my teammates play in a playoff game. Like, I had to make that decision that I wanted to dig deep and really figure out what was triggering me to drink so much.
Now, that's an interesting point, because growing up as a have-not or in the inner city, a lot of times we're going to glorify the things that we feel like can get us rich, in particular, get rich quick. So we're going to idolize sports, we're going to idolize entertainment, but we're going to also idolize that street life and that fast money. So you, as someone that accomplished so very much, you're seeing yourself and your team playing on TV. What was it like for your cellmates, your inmates? What did they say? What did you learn from being around them?
You know what? It was like, it was almost like when we were watching that game at that time, the other people that were in the facility, they weren't talking to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were just trying to see how I was going to react. The biggest thing that I learned from rehab, though, is that, like I said, everybody's rock bottom is different. Mm-hmm. And I saw people that I didn't want to end up like. It was this one guy in there. I mean, I'm gonna tell the story, but it was this one guy in there, older guy, had a bunch of money, super successful, you could tell. I mean, had all the money in the world, everything, but had been in rehab 7 times, and wife had left him, and he couldn't get in contact with his kids. All he was trying to do the whole 30 days we were in there was reconnect with his kids. He had 4 kids, and he had up so much that they wouldn't even be in his life. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I saw that and I was like, I don't want to be that. You know what I'm saying? So it was just, I used that as an example of to get my stuff together. So I didn't want to, end up in that situation 20 years from now.
What was your toughest challenge or adjustment after your baseball career was over?
Man, it's been fun. It's been fun, like, being retired. I keep telling people I should have did this 5 years ago.
You crushing them. I'm seeing, multi-outlets, producing, hosting, radio, podcast.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's just like, being able to be on my own schedule and do what I want to do, Obviously having that chance to work at ESPN during my last season helped me out and kind of figured out, what I want to do and what I don't want to do, like kind of navigating. And it's been fun, man. I really enjoy retirement. I really enjoy my family. I love being around my kids. So, I still want to keep my connection to the Yankees, but I mean, I'm just ready for whatever's next, whether it's more documentaries. I want to do a documentary on the Black Aces, the 15 guys that have won 20 games in the big leagues. I want to do more Negro League stuff, tell more stories about the Negro Leagues, and just keep doing my philanthropy and, just keep hanging out.
Do you believe that there's more that Major League Baseball can do for players to prepare them for their retirement?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I mean, I think, I think the NBA and the NFL do a great job. The thing about Major League Baseball, though, is just so unpredictable of when you're going to be done. So is a guy in his 8th year going to go to a program to be retired, or you know what I'm saying? Like when do you qualify to be able to go to that program? Baseball is one of those sports, though, where you do have a lot of opportunities after the game, to work in the game, stay around in the front office, go work at MLB Network. So they do have those opportunities, but it's just hard to kind of set up those things because you don't know, when does a guy qualify to be able to go into those camps?
A couple of more before I let you get out of here. Somebody that's written a best-selling book, and I'm really proud to do so. I thought that writing a book means I'm going to hire a writer. They're going to learn everything about me. He just going to write a book and ain't really got to talk to me. He going to take care of everything. And then you realize you got to unpack your whole life, your stories, your pictures, Everything. So what did you learn about yourself in writing this memoir?
I learned, you know what I learned is that I lump trauma all together. You know what I mean? So like, my cousin, I had a cousin that got shot during a robbery in 1992. And my grandfather passed away in 1994, but I lump everything all together. That's like the biggest thing in the storytelling of the book is that I had to like fact check everything. Like my own story, I had to go back and like ask people like, did this happen? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and then
Make
even
sure
like
it's authentic.
yeah, even like some of the stories, like growing up as a kid, like just some of the stuff that happened in the hood is like it's just weird to like that we actually lived through some of that shit. Like we normalize a lot of violence and different things that like people would be shocked to like actually know that we seen this with our own eyes before you were 9, 10 years old. You know what I'm saying? So it was weird to actually like be telling the guy, Chris Smith, the guy who wrote the book with me. I'd be telling them stories about stuff that I seen as like a 7, 8-year-old, and his jaw be dropped, and I'd be like, damn, like it's a normal story to me. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, no, that shit ain't normal.
Right.
So it's just it was just those things, just learning that, the way we grew up is not normal.
Not at all. And I appreciate you take the time. Before I get out of here, I have a rapid fire segment I like to do with my guest called Gone in 60 Seconds.
Presented by Tri-State Cadillac Dealers.
Let's make it happen. Favorite spot in New York City to grab a slice?
Prince Street Pizza.
Name as many Bay Area rappers as possible.
E40, Mac Dre, Young Lay, Mac Mall, Messy Marv, San Quinn, Too Short, Fabby. Man, I'm missing so many people.
They go on and on is the point.
They go on and on.
The Bay go on and on.
As long as I got Mac Dre,
have to get
E40
the
in
hammer,
there, that's it.
or Tony, or some of those acts like that. Who is a person dead or alive you wish you could have played alongside as a teammate?
Oh man, I wish I could have played with Doc Ellis. You know who that is?
No.
He's a pitcher. He pitched in the 70s. I definitely in the 70s. Like I should have pitched in the 70s. But he's a pitcher, pitched in the 70s, through a no-hitter high on LSD. He's an LA guy. He's got a good story. He's got a good documentary. If you guys ever check it out, it's called It's called No Documentary. But he's one of the guys that I wish I could have played with.
So you hooped in high school. You were all conference.
Mm-hmm.
If you could do it all over and you could choose whatever sport, play as long as you want, have all of the glory, would you still have chosen baseball, or would you have chosen football or basketball?
I would have chosen baseball for sure. I played those other sports, and I played those other sports because they were hard. They were a challenge for me. Like I had to work at basketball. I had to, really know what I was doing. I had to study. I had to, you know what I'm saying? Football, the same thing. Baseball was just like, I feel like I was just born to play. It was just easy. I always knew what base to throw to, how to run the bases. Baseball IQ was just always high. So I just loved the sport and loved to play it. And it just came so natural to me.
Well, it showed. Besides your phone, give me a piece of technology that you can't live without.
My iPad. And because I got my iPad, I Apple TV, everything. I stream everything to every TV that I go to. So like I watch TV all day, every day. So my iPad and my Hulu, I can't go nowhere without.
You're the face of OG cord cutters. Usually those people are supposed to be 21 years old. Last but not least, who would you like to strike out more? LeBron James or Michael Jordan?
Oh, MJ for sure. MJ for sure. Because he talks so much so, oh my God. Even now, like my shoulder's broken, I would love his ass to get in the box right now. Like him out right now. Last time he came to one of my starts, I think I had like 3 or 4 walks or something, and I come out in the tunnel, and he gave me, before he even gave me a 5, he was like, why you walking so many people? I'm like, dog, I see the back of your baseball card. You can't hit it. So MJ for sure.
Oh man, that's dope. Well, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate the love and best of success.
No problem, man. I appreciate it.